Obinna and Cynthia walked into the compound, fingers locked, faces cold. "Mama," Obinna said, clearing his throat. After thinking about it with Cynthia, "I cancelled your ticket. This event is not for older people. I don't want you to embarrass us." The words hit like a slap. Olivia knelt. "My son," she whispered, "don't do this." Tears slid down her face to the dust on the ground. Cynthia turned away, laughing softly. Obinna shook his head and walked to the car. The door shut. The engine hummed. They drove off. The gate closed behind them. The silence was heavy. Olivia stood, wiped her eyes with the edge of her lace, and took a slow breath. She remembered the night her husband died when Obinna was only 10. She remembered selling her gold earrings to pay school fees. She remembered saying no to suitors because she wanted her boy to have a steady home. "God sees," she said to herself. Her phone buzzed. Barrister Bamidele's name flashed on the screen. He had called the day before about a secret life her late father had kept. Silent investments, careful deeds, a company tucked inside another company. Tonight's gala was in Olive Hotel, and Olive Hotel, he told her, was one of her inheritances. "Ma," he said now, voice steady, "are you ready?" "I am," Olivia replied. Hours earlier, the morning had started with joy. Madame Olivia stood outside the house in her blue lace, holding a small handbag. She had practiced her smile, her steps, even the way she would greet people she had only seen on TV. "Obinna," she said, "tonight I will meet the people I have read about my whole life." Whenever she spoke about the dinner, Cynthia would change the topic. Fashion, a new car, anything to stop the talk. It pricked Olivia's heart, but she swallowed it. She wanted peace. She understood her plans now. As promised by Barrister Bamidele, 3 black SUVs rolled to a stop by her gate. A new Bentley gleamed in front. Neighbors peeked through curtains as the security men stepped out, straight-backed in dark suits. Barrister Bamidele opened the rear door with a small bow. "Madame Olivia," he said, smiling. "Time to go." She placed her handbag on her lap and sat tall. As the convoy moved toward Victoria Island, she took out a small box she had packed photos and a folded wrapper, then pressed it against her chest. She would not sleep in Obinna's house tonight. The ballroom glowed with gold light and crystal. Famous faces filled the room. Obinna and Cynthia laughed with friends near the front, trading stories, flashing rings, feeling important. The band stopped playing. The MC raised a hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "tonight we welcome a new chapter at Olive Hotel. Please rise for the owner and CEO." The doors opened, heels clicked on marble. A woman in royal blue lace stepped through, calm as sunrise, followed by Barrister Bamidele and 2 aides. Heads turned, mouths opened. Obinna's glass slipped from his fingers and cracked on the floor. "Please welcome," the MC announced, voice ringing clear, "Madame Olivia Adeyemi, the new billionaire CEO of Olive Hotel." Olivia paused at the center of the light, lifted her chin, and looked straight at her son. The sound of her name rolled across the ballroom like thunder. Madame Olivia Adeyemi. People rose from their seats, clapping, some whispering, others staring in disbelief. It was the kind of moment that freezes time, when the very air feels heavy with secrets being revealed. Obinna's heart raced. His hands trembled as he bent to pick up the broken glass on the floor, but his fingers couldn't hold steady. His mother, whom he had just humiliated hours earlier, was walking with grace across the hall, not as his guest, not as an afterthought, but as the main star. Cynthia leaned toward him, her voice trembling. "Obinna, what is happening? How can your mother be the billionaire CEO they're talking about?" Obinna shook his head, sweat forming at his temples. "I don't know, Cynthia. I don't know." Madame Olivia walked up the stage, her blue lace sparkling under the golden chandeliers. Her eyes scanned the hall, lingering on Obinna and Cynthia, just long enough for them to squirm in their seats. Then she turned to the crowd and smiled. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice clear, steady, full of a confidence no one had seen in her before. "It gives me great joy to stand here tonight as the new owner and CEO of Olive Hotel, a vision my late father planted many years ago." Gasps echoed through the hall. Some of the top businessmen whispered among themselves, recalling the legendary Adeyemi family name. Others simply clapped louder, rising to their feet to honor her. But for Obinna and Cynthia, each clap was a hammer on their chest. They had walked out on her, laughed at her tears, and told her she was too old for this very stage. As Olivia spoke, Obinna's mind betrayed him with memories. He saw his mother standing in the rain outside his secondary school, clutching his exam fees in a polythene bag. He saw her hawking groundnuts quietly in the evenings, smiling at him even when her slippers tore. He saw her sitting on the floor in their one-room apartment after his father died, holding him tight and whispering, "Don't worry, Obinna. God will help us." Now here she was, wealthy, respected, radiant, and he had shut the door in her face. Cynthia tugged at his sleeve, her own mask of arrogance crumbling. For the first time, guilt pricked her heart, but pride kept her silent. When the hall finally quieted, Madame Olivia raised the microphone again. She didn't speak of wealth or power. Instead, she said, "I want to dedicate tonight not to myself, but to the mothers who sacrifice in silence, to the parents who go hungry so their children can eat, who wear rags so their children can wear uniforms. We live in a time where parents are often forgotten once children taste success. But my message tonight is simple. Honor your parents. Bring them with you. Let them share the joy of your victories, and never let pride blind you." The audience erupted in applause. Some stood with tears in their eyes. Business magnates nodded, celebrities clapped, and journalists scribbled furiously. Obinna and Cynthia, however, sank deeper into their chairs. Every word felt like it was aimed at them. For the rest of the dinner, Olivia was the star. High officials queued to greet her, CEOs bowed slightly, and cameras flashed endlessly. She moved from table to table with elegance, her smile warm, her presence magnetic. Obinna couldn't eat. His fork scraped the plate without lifting food to his mouth. Cynthia sipped her wine too quickly, her hand trembling. She's doing this to shame us," Cynthia whispered. Obinna swallowed hard. "No," he said bitterly, "she's not shaming us. She's just showing us who she really is. We're the ones who shamed ourselves." As dessert was being served, Olivia requested the microphone once more. Her eyes found her son's table instantly. "Before I leave you tonight," she said, "I want to thank my late husband, Emeka, who stood by me when life was hard, and to my son, Obinna Adeyemi." The hall turned, every head faced him. Obinna froze. "I pray you learn the value of humility, respect, and love. Life has a way of turning tables, but family is meant to remain unbroken. May we all never forget that." The hall shook with applause again. But to Obinna, the claps felt like 1,000 slaps. His cheeks burned. He wanted to vanish. Cynthia covered her face with her napkin, ashamed. By the time the night ended, Obinna and Cynthia had stopped pretending. They hurried out of the hall, avoiding the cameras, their pride in tatters. In the car, silence pressed against them, until Cynthia finally spoke. "Obinna, what do we do now?" He didn't answer. He stared out of the window, tears pooling in his eyes. "I betrayed her," he whispered. "Not just as a mother, as everything she ever stood for." They drove home to find her room empty, her belongings gone. Obinna's chest tightened. He dialed her number, no response. He called again and again. Nothing. Then a message came through. He opened it with shaking hands. "I believe you and your wife were shocked seeing me tonight. But that is life. Sometimes we don't know the worth of people until it is too late. I suffered for you when your father died, but you repaid me with shame. God has repaid me with honor. From today, focus on your wife. You chose her over me. Do not look for me again." Obinna's phone slipped from his hand. He buried his face in his palms. Cynthia leaned close, her own tears falling. For the first time in her life, she regretted her manipulation. But it was too late, at least for now. And so, the night ended not with the sparkle of chandeliers or the taste of wine, but with two broken hearts in a silent car, and one mother driving away into a new life of power, respect, and freedom. The stage was set for battles of love, guilt, and redemption. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Obinna woke with a heavy head. He hadn't slept properly. Cynthia lay beside him, but both had kept turning on the bed, tossing in silence. The night's memories replayed like a film, his mother's shining moment at the banquet dinner, her voice echoing through the hall, the applause that swallowed his pride. When he stepped into the sitting room, he froze. His mother's chair, the one she always sat on to watch the morning news, was empty. The air felt hollow, like something sacred had left the house. He walked to her bedroom. Empty. The wardrobe was cleared, the curtains pulled aside, the room smelling faintly of lavender soap. She really left, Obinna whispered, his throat dry. Cynthia entered quietly behind him, her eyes scanning the empty room. Obinna, she's serious. She won't forgive us easily. He turned sharply, his eyes blazing. Us? Cynthia, it was you who whispered in my ear, telling me she'd embarrass us. You planted that thought. Cynthia flinched, her lips trembled. I only wanted us to shine. I didn't want her to overshadow me. I didn't know. You didn't know she was the owner of Olive Hotel. Obinna's voice rose. You didn't know she was the billionaire CEO everyone stood for last night? He slammed his fist on the wardrobe, his knuckles reddening. I humiliated my own mother because of you. Tears spilled down Cynthia's cheeks. For the first time since their marriage, she dropped to her knees before him. Obinna, I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. I didn't mean to destroy your relationship with her. I was selfish. I see that now. But Obinna turned away, unable to look at her. His chest burned with shame. For days, Obinna tried to reach his mother. He called every morning, every night. No answer. He sent long messages filled with apologies, but all remained unread. Each day the silence grew heavier, pressing on his heart like a stone. He drove to Olive Hotel, hoping to catch her there. But the guards at the entrance only shook their heads respectfully. Madame Olivia is not available, sir. She said she doesn't want visitors. Obinna sat in his car for an hour, staring at the hotel's golden logo on the wall. People were coming in and out, politicians, actors, foreign investors, all honoring his mother. And yet, he, her only son, was locked out of her life. The humiliation cut deeper than any wound. Cynthia, too, began to change. The same woman who once mocked Olivia now spent her days in regret. She sat at the dining table, staring at her untouched food, her mind racing. At night, she wept quietly, whispering prayers she had long forgotten to say. One evening, she turned to Obinna, her face swollen from tears. If leaving me will help you get your mother back, I'll do it. I can't bear to be the reason she hates you. Her words startled him. He looked at her and, for the first time, saw how broken she truly was. She was no longer the proud wife who dismissed his mother, but a woman drowning in guilt. Still, he couldn't forgive her, not yet. His own heart was too raw. On the fourth day, a black SUV pulled up in front of their gate. The security guard hurried to open it. Obinna and Cynthia rushed out, their hearts pounding. Barrister Bamidele stepped out, dressed neatly in a grey suit, holding a brown envelope. Barrister, Obinna said quickly. Please, where is my mother? Tell her I want to see her. I beg you. The lawyer's expression was calm but firm. Your mother asked me to deliver this. He handed the envelope to Obinna. She will not see you until you have truly understood what you did. She is hurt, and healing will take time. Obinna tore open the envelope. Inside was a single letter written in his mother's handwriting. Obinna, my silence is not punishment, it is protection. I need time away from you and Cynthia to heal from the wound you gave me. I will not close the door forever, but I will not open it quickly either. I carried you for 9 months. I carried you on my back when you were little, and I carried your dreams when you had none. Yet, in return, you chose pride over me. For now, let me rest. Your mother. Tears blurred Obinna's eyes as he read. Cynthia held the paper too, crying softly. Please, barrister, Obinna begged. Just one chance. Let me kneel before her. But Bamidele shook his head. When she is ready, she will call you. Until then, don't force your way in. If you love her, give her peace. He stepped back into the SUV, leaving them in the compound, the letter shaking in Obinna's hands. That night, Obinna couldn't sleep. He walked the length of the sitting room, his mother's words echoing in his ears. Cynthia sat on the couch, clutching the letter against her chest. Obinna, she whispered, maybe this is God teaching us a lesson. We let pride rule us. We forgot the hand that fed us. We thought we were wise, but we were foolish. Obinna stopped pacing. His eyes burned red. Do you know the worst part? She was never against us. She only wanted to be part of our joy. And I threw her away like she was nothing. His voice broke, and for the first time in years, Obinna, the man who always carried himself with power, fell to his knees and wept. 2 weeks passed in silence. But then, one afternoon, as Obinna returned from work, his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but the voice that came through sent chills down his spine. "Obinna," the voice said, calm yet commanding. "Mama?" he gasped, stopping in the middle of the road. "Yes," Olivia replied. "I will give you and your wife one chance. Meet me at my new home in Lekki tomorrow morning." His heart leaped. He turned to Cynthia, who had just entered the living room. "She called," he whispered, his voice breaking. "She wants to see us." Cynthia dropped to her knees, covering her face with both hands. "Thank you, God. Thank you." But Obinna's joy was mixed with fear. His mother had given him a chance. But what kind of meeting would it be? Would she truly forgive? Or would this be the final test of his loyalty and humility? The next morning would decide everything. The following morning, Lagos streets were already alive with the noise of Danfo buses honking and traders shouting prices when Obinna and Cynthia set out. Their hearts beat faster with every turn of the road that led them closer to Lekki. Cynthia, dressed in a simple cream gown with no makeup, kept wringing her fingers. "Obinna, what if she refuses to even let us in?" Obinna, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, shook his head. "If she shuts us out, I'll kneel outside her gate until the sun goes down. I won't move until she forgives us." The silence that followed was heavy. Both of them knew this meeting could change everything. When they reached the Lekki estate, their mouths fell open. The mansion stood like something from a dream, tall gates lined with gold designs, walls gleaming white, and a garden filled with flowers that seemed too perfect for the dusty Lagos air. Security men in black suits stood at attention, and a fountain in the courtyard sent water glittering into the air. "This is Mama's?" Cynthia whispered, unable to believe her eyes. "Yes," Obinna muttered, shame burning his chest. This is what she was hiding all along. The gates opened, and they were escorted inside. The polished marble floors reflected their faces as they stepped into the massive living room. Crystal chandeliers glowed overhead, and leather couches faced a glass table with fresh flowers. At the far end, Madame Olivia sat gracefully, dressed in a soft white gown, a glass of water in her hand. She did not rise when they entered. She simply looked at them calm, collected, unreadable. Obinna's legs buckled. He dropped to his knees instantly, tears already spilling. "Mama, I am sorry. Please, forgive me. I have wronged you. I betrayed you." Cynthia followed, kneeling beside him. Her voice cracked. "Mama, I know I pushed Obinna. I was selfish. I thought I was protecting myself, but I only brought shame. If leaving Obinna will heal this wound, I am ready to go." The mansion was quiet, except for their sobs. For a long moment, Madame Olivia did not speak. She sipped her water slowly, her eyes never leaving them. The silence was heavier than any words. Obinna bowed lower, his forehead touching the marble. "Mama, I remember everything you did for me. The nights you went hungry, the sacrifices you made, the dreams you gave up. And this is how I repaid you. Please, give me one more chance." Cynthia placed her hand on her chest. "Mama, I promise to never stand between you and your son again. I will never manipulate him again. Please, let me prove it." Finally, Olivia placed the glass on the table and leaned back. Her voice was calm but firm. "You think forgiveness is cheap? You think you can wound a mother's heart so deeply and wipe it away with tears? Do you know the nights I cried in this very mansion, asking God if I should erase you from my life?" Obinna's shoulders shook. "Mama, don't say that, please." Olivia's voice softened, though her eyes remained stern. "And yet, the same God reminded me, if I cast you away, I am no better than the pain you gave me. That is why I allowed you to come today." She motioned toward the couch. "Stand up. Sit down." They obeyed, sitting stiffly on the edge of the couch. Olivia studied them for a while before speaking again. "I raised you alone, Obinna. Your father died when you were 10. I never remarried, though men came with promises of comfort. I chose to stay with you because I wanted you to rise. And yes, you rose. But you forgot who lifted you up. That night at the banquet dinner, when you told me I was too old, you broke something in me." Obinna could not look up. His hands trembled. Olivia turned to Cynthia. "And you looked me in the eyes, laughed when I begged, and rode away in the car my sweat paid for. You wanted to erase me from his life. Tell me, Cynthia, how would you feel if your child did the same to you?" Cynthia broke down, her tears falling like rain. "Mama, I can't even imagine. Please, don't curse me with that kind of pain. I was foolish. I let pride blind me. Forgive me, please. Olivia exhaled deeply. Then, slowly, her stern expression softened. I have already forgiven you. If not, you would not be sitting in this house today. Forgiveness is not for your sake, it is for mine. I refuse to carry bitterness in my heart. Both Obinna and Cynthia burst into fresh tears, overwhelmed. Olivia rose and stretched her hands over them. But hear me. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means I give you another chance to prove yourselves. If you betray me again, you will lose me forever. They nodded quickly, promising through tears. Then Olivia smiled faintly for the first time that morning. Enough tears. You came here for reconciliation, not judgment. Stand up. They stood, still wiping their faces. Olivia walked to a side cabinet, took out 2 brown envelopes, and handed them over. These are your appointment letters, she said. You are both now managers at Olive Hotel. From today, you will work under my watch. Let the same hall where you shamed me become the hall where you redeem yourselves. Shock crossed their faces. They fell to their knees again, thanking her. Don't thank me, Olivia said gently. Thank God for second chances. Before they left that day, Olivia gathered them into her arms. It was the first time she had embraced them since the betrayal. She prayed aloud, her voice strong. Lord, bless my son and his wife. Heal their hearts. Give them humility, wisdom, and the fruit of the womb. Her words filled the mansion like a balm, and both Obinna and Cynthia sobbed against her shoulders. Little did they know that prayer was about to unlock a miracle none of them expected. Weeks turned into months, and for the first time in years, peace slowly returned to Obinna and Cynthia's lives. The appointment letters Madame Olivia had given them forced them into new roles that humbled them. At Olive Hotel, they no longer walked as entitled owners' family members. They walked as workers. They took instructions, managed staff, attended meetings, and even received corrections from their mother herself. Every day was a reminder that respect was not something demanded, but something earned. Cynthia, who once turned her nose at waiters, now supervised them with patience. She wore simpler clothes, choosing decency over extravagance. And Obinna, who once mocked his mother's age, now found himself listening to her wisdom in board meetings, taking notes like a student. Their transformation was slow but genuine. And Madame Olivia watched quietly, her heart softening as she saw humility replace pride. One evening, after another long day at the hotel, Cynthia felt a strange dizziness. She brushed it off at first, but when it happened again the following morning, she went to the hospital. Hours later, she came running into their bedroom, holding a paper in her trembling hand. "Obinna," she gasped, tears streaming down her face. He jumped to his feet, alarmed. "What is it? What happened?" She fell into his arms, laughing and crying at once. "I'm pregnant, Obinna. After 5 years, I'm pregnant." Obinna froze. The words sank in slowly, like a sunrise breaking through the night. His eyes widened, then filled with tears. "Pregnant?" His voice cracked. "Are you sure?" "Yes," she sobbed, clutching him tightly. The doctor confirmed it. Obinna dropped to his knees, raising his hands to heaven. "Thank you, God. Thank you." He turned to Cynthia, holding her face in his palms. "This is Mama's prayer. This is her prayer, working for us." They couldn't wait. That same evening, they drove to Lekki to share the news. Madame Olivia was sitting in the garden when they arrived, watering her flowers. She looked up and saw them running toward her. "Mama!" Cynthia cried, falling to her knees before her. "Your prayer worked. I'm pregnant." Olivia's watering can slipped from her hand, water spilling onto the grass. For a moment, she stood frozen, her eyes wide. Then tears rushed down her face, and she bent quickly, embracing Cynthia. "My daughter," she cried. "My daughter. God has answered. The womb you thought was closed has been opened. This is the fruit of forgiveness." Obinna knelt beside them, his head on his mother's lap. "Mama, thank you for praying for us. Thank you for not giving up on us." Olivia stroked his hair gently, her tears falling freely. "My son, it was never me. It was God. But you see now, respecting your parents carries blessings no money can buy." Months passed, and Cynthia's belly grew round with life. The mansion became filled with laughter again. Olivia prepared soups, insisted on old family remedies, and told Cynthia stories of her own pregnancy with Obinna. When the time finally came, Cynthia gave birth to not one, but 2 beautiful girls. Twins. The hospital room echoed with cries of life and joy. Mimi and Mara, Cynthia whispered, holding them gently, her face glowing with motherly pride. Obinna stood beside her, unable to stop his tears. God gave us double for our shame. When Olivia carried the twins in her arms, her knees nearly gave way from the flood of emotions. She pressed her lips to their tiny foreheads, tears dripping onto their blankets. Mimi and Mara, she whispered, you are my crowns of joy. The sight was overwhelming. Nurses wiped their eyes quietly, touched by the scene. Weeks later, a small naming ceremony was held at Olive Hotel. The same hall where Olivia had once stood humiliated by her son's absence was now filled with family, friends, and business partners celebrating the twins. As guests laughed and ate, Olivia stood once more with a microphone in her hand. This time, her voice carried both authority and tenderness. My friends, she began, this banquet hall has witnessed my tears, and now it witnesses my joy. Not long ago, I was cast aside by the very child I carried in my womb. But today, the same child kneels at my feet with gratitude. What does this tell us? That no matter how high we rise, we must never forget the shoulders that lifted us. She paused, her eyes finding Obinna and Cynthia, who sat with Mimi and Mara in their arms. Parents are not perfect, she continued, but they are priceless. When you honor them, you open doors that even money cannot open. I prayed for my son and his wife, and today God has blessed us with two beautiful grandchildren. The hall erupted in applause. Many wiped their eyes, and Obinna, his pride forever broken, rose to his feet. Mama, he said loudly, his voice filled with conviction. You are right. I was blind, but now I see. I chose pride over the woman who gave me everything. But never again. I will honor you until my last breath. The room thundered with claps and cheers. From that day forward, Obinna and Cynthia became different people. At Olive Hotel, they worked not as entitled heirs, but as humble servants of the vision their mother carried. They treated staff with respect, gave to the poor, and lived each day with gratitude. And Olivia, once the humiliated widow who was mocked at her son's gate, now lived as a queen in her mansion, surrounded by love, respect, and the laughter of her grandchildren. Every evening, she sit on her balcony, Mimi and Mara playing at her feet, and whisper a prayer of thanksgiving, because she knew now what she had always believed, that a mother's tears never go unnoticed, that sacrifice is always rewarded, and that forgiveness can unlock miracles beyond imagination. And so, the story that began with betrayal ended with restoration. The son who cancelled his mother's ticket had found his way back to her heart. The wife who mocked her had been transformed, and the mother who wept in dust now lived to carry crowns of joy in her arms. A tale of pain turned to power, of pride broken into humility, and of forgiveness blooming into a double portion of blessing. The banquet dinner that once brought shame had, at last, brought redemption. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.